And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 39 of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
And joining us tonight is Brian Hill of the Complete Combatant. Brian, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So, Brian, we've been kind of perusing your internet or your website, Jesus. This is what we get for
I own the internet.
Yeah, this is what we get for taking a vacation.
Yeah, really.
The slip-ups are going to be worse than ever. But we've been perusing your website. You have got quite an extensive menu of offerings that you like to cover, and we're certainly going to get into that. But before we do, and we start digging into these questions and finding out what it is that makes you tick and your level of instruction and teaching so awesome. First of all, Brian, we'd like to find out a little bit more about you. So, Brian, who the hell are you, man?
I'm probably the rare commodity in the firearms industry. I've spent my whole life in private instruction. I was a reserve deputy at one time. I've been a bouncer. I've done security work and stuff like that. But I've been teaching my whole life. Basically, from 17 on, I've been teaching martial arts. So outside of shooting, I like to do jiu-jitsu and I like to do mixed martial arts. And I train with knives and guns and saps and swords and things like that. I really enjoy that. I have a lot of fun riding a Harley Davidson. I'm a glutton for punishment, obviously. I put my 1911 on and go ride my Harley Davidson, so everything breaks together. But, I've got two great grandkids, which is hard to believe, and a wonderful daughter who's a veteran that we're very proud of. And I spend a lot of time with my wife, got two great dogs. And I am really as close to you'll get to a martial monk as there is. I pretty much live, breathe, and sleep and eat training. I'm a nationally certified strength and conditioning coach, so kettlebells and all sorts of weight training for everybody. I just recently closed down my gym, my mixed martial arts gym, permanently, just for a multitude of reasons. It was hard to make it through the COVID thing, but so it's freed up some time now. I'm going to go full time with the traveling firearms instructor show. So I have a lot of fun on the side, scuba diving, mountain climbing, stuff like that. Anything that gets me some adrenaline kick is my sort of thing. So I guess that's who I am, a junkie.
So I care less about all the other things than the dogs. Yep. So please tell me more about the dogs.
Yeah, we got a Cane Corso who is a rescue, and John Correa from Active Self Protection put together a fundraiser for our Cane Corso because the owner couldn't afford to have his shoulder surgery that they're prone to, and it was about $3,000 or $4,000. So the whole gun community chipped in so that we could save this dog. Yeah. And he is the biggest, happiest dog there's ever been. I watch him run in the backyard. He makes me happy. And then I have a Rottweiler who I call a Speedweiler because he's really small and skinny for some reason, but he's the fastest dog I've ever seen. And now he's trained to go off the timer because he spends every moment with me. So every time he hears the timer, when I'm doing dry practice in the basement, he goes crazy and it's time to play. So he's my dry practice dog or interrupter.
That's my kind of dog, though.
Yeah. He's fun.
He probably thinks his name is Beep.
Well, he thinks he knows jiu-jitsu too, because I started playing jiu-jitsu with him when he was a puppy, and I watch him fight with the other dog. So he's always doing collar ties on the other dog. He picks the ankles, and he dominates a dog that's almost twice his size. So jiu-jitsu works for dogs too, apparently.
Okay, if nothing else comes from this podcast, you need to put that dog on YouTube.
Yeah, and Shelly used to film him all the time, so I'll put him on for a dry practice one day. He tried to get into my show the other day. He jumped right up in front of the camera and had to start all over again. So,
aren't you going to be pissed when all this very deep, wide breadth of combatives knowledge that you have is surpassed by a video of your dog doing an ankle pick on YouTube?
Bro, and you become
man. You become
I'm a great
the
teacher. I taught a dog.
You become the Caesar Milan of jiu-jitsu dogs.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever my fame is, I'll take it, I guess.
That's perfect.
But you know how dog owners are. We love them. What kind of dogs you got?
Oh my goodness. So we've got Karma the Golden Retriever.
Okay.
She's
great name.
Well, she's perfect in every way. We've got my father passed away, and as a result, I inherited Katie the Golden Doodle. She's rear wheel drive. Her hind legs are about 3 inches longer than her front legs.
Oh wow!
So she can go 1,000,000 miles an hour in one direction, kind of like her dad, but turning ain't happening. And then we've got Sweetie, the little Lhasa Apso Shih Tzu mix.
That's awesome.
So we got small, medium, and large, and then of course we got little baby James running around. So the pooches wrestle with their little baby brother, and it's a riot around here.
Yeah.
Usually.
No wonder your house is under duress.
Oh my God, dude! And then of course TJ's got, well, Daisy's a cow or a horse.
Horse.
He's got a Mastiff, and he's got Georgie the Corgi.
Yep.
And then he's got Tucker and Apache, and I don't know what the hell they are. They're just dogs.
So, yeah, Tucker's a hound. Apache is, I'm convinced he is mixed with pointer and wrapped Christmas ham.
You know, I don't meet a lot of gun people that don't have dogs.
Yeah,
There's
isn't that something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Beware the gun owner that has cats.
Yeah.
And only cats.
I know a couple. I'm not going to say anything bad in case they're watching.
I'm looking at you, Oregon vets.
Oh my goodness. So speaking of firearms instructor fame and recent accomplishments, Brian, it's my understanding that Scott and Bev from MSP just recognized you as one of their, what do you want to call that, certified instructors? Or
Yeah, they endorsed instructors.
Endorsed or what have you.
Yeah.
What an honor.
Yeah, it's a huge honor. You know, the first time I took Scott's class, I looked at that guy and I said, it just was instant. Because he teaches class like a jiu-jitsu instructor would teach class. He's very personable. He's very and everything is kinesthetically driven with him and technically driven. And we just connected right away. And then of course, Shelly and Beverly got along like a gang of criminals. They're just great together.
How can you not?
Yeah. I don't know who can organize who better, you know, they really are great at that. So I was very honored that he selected me. And I'll try to live up to that. And, you know, we have so much in common in our teaching already. And he has done so much for people that want to get into the red dots and working on appendix that it's just I'm really grateful, you know, and I'll do the best I can to hold up that end of it. So.
Well, that's fantastic. So you have a red dot essentials class. Obviously that's, I'm sure that's deeply steeped in what you got from Jedi. And of course, accomplished on your own, I'm sure.
Well, I went through this with rifles too, you know.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Some of you guys have got a year or two on me. Actually, remember the days when there weren't crazy buttons on everything we put on top of our rifles.
You young whippersnappers need to learn to work iron sights.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
I just want to point out, when I went into the Army, we still had to polish boots.
Oh my goodness.
You were cool if you had a fixed power ACOG.
Wow.
They actually had just started issuing the aim point during my first deployment, and they gave us these things. We're like, what the hell do we do with these? Like, oh shit, my battery's dead. Big surprise.
Yep.
Yeah, that was before. Aim point makes a great product, but yeah, back then they could not save a battery for anything.
Awesome. So let me hit like the deep firearms training topics right away, so that you and TJ can talk jits, because I'm out of my element in that area. I know that I'm supposed to roll around and try not to die, but
it's a good start,
right?
Yeah, that's it's like what I was always told: don't worry about winning, just survive.
Yep.
There you go. So if I might just hit you up, how does your red dot POI different from what MSP is doing in any way? Is there anything that you I'm not fishing for disagreements necessarily, but is there anything that you picked up elsewhere that you integrated in that? Or
one thing with my course is I push people on a lot of different hand positions because of the self-defense background. So I have a series that's called the Mix 6, which is positions that you might find yourself with your hands in. Whether, you know, we all talk about hands up and hands down, but sometimes our hands are busy when we're on the phone using a flashlight. Sometimes it's out in front of us. So there's a lot of things that we work on in different hand positions.
Okay.
You know, so it's a little different, but you know, it's still, everything's from appendix, everything's from concealed, or if it's from, you know, strong side, that's the same. And I think Scott and I share a lot of commonalities because, you know, we're both jiu-jitsu guys and competitors too. And that's primarily where we come at it. So I don't find a whole lot of things that I disagree or have any difference, because I say this somewhat ironically, but I believe it to be true. I don't teach firearms, I teach people.
Fair.
And that's the key of this. And Scott is good with people, which is a really important thing for instructors to be, which a lot of instructors think that a lot of body of technical knowledge keeps them safe from having to interact with their actual clients and figure them out. So
what fun is that?
Yeah.
That's no fun.
Yeah.
So hand positioning starting from the draw. So
yeah, everything.
So we're accessing the tool. We're just accessing it from more cell phone or from car keys or okay.
Well, I took John Korea's active self-protection videos. He's got about 18,000 he's gone through now, and isolated positions that I saw people's hands in, from talking to holding things. We see constantly with law enforcement officers that whatever they have in their left hand, they don't drop.
Yeah, they can't drop their money maker, man.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? They can't drop that pinch pad.
So it's really tough to teach people to do that. And, we're also certified through Chuck Haggard for pepper spray instructors. So, part of our class is pepper spray, because I think every armed citizen should have pepper spray with them, because you need that level of force. So we need to teach people to let go of tools. Okay. It's very hard to let them to cycle to the next thing.
Okay.
Kind of like smoke jumpers. The firefighters that jump in, a lot of them end up dying because they hold on to their tools when they're trying to flee the fire, because it becomes so important to them. If they would simply drop what they had and run out of the canyon, they may survive. We find that a lot of times that, we have a window of somewhere between 6 to 10 seconds in a fight. And you're going to have to make several cycles of decisions. Am I maintaining distance? Am I using verbal skills? Is it less lethal? Oh shit. I'm on lethal, and I have to go to the next thing.
Very cool. I've taken one thing away from Korea's videos, and that is that I am never, ever going to a pizza shop in Brazil. Ever. I'm just not doing it. Not happening, bro. I'll go to Brazil, but I'm not leaving that hotel. He's done a lot of work.
Yeah, it changed my world as an instructor, because, I started in the 70s in martial arts. We were guessing. We were running around acting like we're white cranes and tigers. And we had no idea how a fight started, what a fight looks like. And now we really know from his body of work that there's some things that we all have to get ready for as a firearms instructor that is outside of just shooting skills,
So if a person was to, you just brought up a point, if a person was to have to make the decision between carrying, say, some saber or some palm or an extra mag, what do you think?
Ooh. I would suggest the pepper spray.
Okay. I thought you might say that.
Yeah. Well, you have another option. I think you can carry them all. Like Tom Givens says, that extra magazine's not like a piece of lumber. It's only a couple ounces and it's only this big. So you can carry everything if you're smart about it. But if you only had a choice, it would be between pepper spray or a flashlight for me.
One of those things that I got asked by a student, and I was like, both?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll play your game. Like, and then you just brought up the Chuck Haggard pepper spray thing. And I thought, oh, somebody else on pepper spray. Let's ask that question.
So I've got to ask this, because I've at least had the privilege of meeting John in person. We met briefly. I was able to introduce myself to him at NRA last year, and fantastic guy. Probably one of the nicest people on the planet. Anybody that you can interrupt them, like while they're drinking and enjoying like their party of people, be like, hey man, I just wanted to say hi, and he was totally super cool about it. That dude's either a saint or he's just really good at hiding his disgust with humanity. But no, he's an awesome guy, super nice. And I actually picked up some of the palm pepper spray on his advice. You see him pushing that, advertising for it on his
shameless channel. Plug. There it is.
Yeah. I've got 2 of them myself, and I think my wife's actually stolen mine. I need to order more. But as
that happens, that's the thing, man.
Yeah, as a pepper spray instructor, obviously you've been hit with probably numerous types and brands. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So in your professional opinion, if if we're looking at the common self-defense or civilian available pepper sprays, your Saber Reds and all that other stuff, and the Palm, where would you rate that product with regards to the effects of getting hit with it yourself?
Yeah, I think the only two that we can recommend is Palm and Saber. That I felt. Chuck Haggard has a great analogy for this. He's really the leading expert in his field right now. It's like starting every fight with a long distance eye poke. Would you do that if you're in a match and you got to say, okay, I get to poke you in the eye and then we get to start? Would you take that advantage of that? That's what pepper spray is. You're going to interrupt the breathing. You're going to impair the vision, and something that's this hot. It affects 9 out of 10 people. Now, people panic when they say 9 out of 10, but we know handguns aren't nearly as effective as 90%. Many people survive shooting. So there's always some people in the world that just seem to be immune to things. They're hard to knock out. They're hard to pepper spray. It's the Todd thing, but this is some really good stuff. And, they do an analysis of it to make sure that it stays up with the proper spiciness of the product. In the 90s, a lot of these things there was nothing in them, so a lot of police officers,
they were very anemic.
Yeah. They barely squirt. There wasn't a lot of peppers in them. And, peppers are very hard to gauge because it depends on how much water they get during their growing season. They get hotter or weaker depending on how much water they get in them. So it's important to have two brands that really spend a lot of time. I like the Stream a lot because it's really easy to apply, but the Palm is easy to carry. So your choice. Palm's really doing a lot to support our community too. So we're big fans of them.
I might just take the Pepsi challenge.
Yeah.
And for the 12 to 14 bucks that these little things of Palm cost.
Yeah.
I might just have my wife go ahead and hit me with it just so I could, because I've been through OC spray. I've been through the CS chamber and all that stuff. And I will tell you right now, you can put a bullet in me and I'm probably still going to keep moving. You take away my ability to see and breathe, and I'm going to go home crying. I will just let you I am so sorry for whatever I have done to offend you.
Well, we got to think of diminishment. We're diminishing our opponent.
Yes.
We do this a lot in jiu-jitsu. We control the windpipe. We control the arm or the limb. We diminish who they are. All our self-defense strategies are a diminishment. It's not – there's only 3 ways to stop a human being. Cut him in half, squash him into a different shape, or turn him into atoms. Those are the only instant stops we have. So everything else is a diminishment of what we're doing. So whether we're shooting with a handgun or we're using pepper spray or we're using some unarmed combat or we use a sap, it's a diminishment. And the guy's going to be less able to pursue the fight with you. And that's what you guys, that's what all of us want. And then having something that is really basically food as a weapon, what's the scale of force on that? It's so low that I wouldn't know how a armed citizen wouldn't carry it with him. Take it from a guy who has so many martial arts ranks. I carry pepper spray with me because I don't want to get into a gunfight because I ended up rolling around with a guy and he felt my gun. I want to have that standoff distance with the pepper spray, and I want to have an option besides the gun that allows me to do something pretty easy. For the armed citizen, the pepper spray works really good because what's our main purpose? To get home, to get away, to break contact with them. We're not law enforcement. We don't have to arrest them. We're not in the military. We don't have to seek to close with them and destroy them. All we have to do is get away. And it's really hard to chase somebody down when you can't see. So it's a huge advantage,
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the biggest turning points, or decision points, I should say, that kind of cemented it and made it kind of a favorite everyday carry implement for my wife. Is it's non-threatening in and of itself. You can carry it pretty much anywhere. She doesn't have to worry about violating her work policies about being armed at work or anything like that. She doesn't have to worry about leaving a gun in her car or in a locker somewhere unattended. So it's easy for her to carry that pepper spray. And especially when I explained to her, I was like, listen, you're not here to fight with this person. You spray and you haul ass.
I call it the gateway weapon. This is a way to get people started on self-defense because there's really nobody in the world that can argue against it. I don't care if you're the most pacifist person in the world. You could say, all right, well, I'm going to use spicy peppers against somebody else.
That
So
makes total sense.
yeah.
I will season you before I kick your ass.
Amen.
To be fair, though, TJ's wife just really has to give her attacker the look that she gives him when he does something stupid. And his heart shall wither, and he shall decide to go elsewhere. So let's see. What else did I have on my super pew question? Oh, so I've been doing a lot of privates myself recently, and you're a guy. You do a decent amount of privates. Yeah. I would imagine that with your student base, you've got a lot of repeat offenders, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people that are, monthly or weekly or biweekly or whatever it might be. And from a fledgling, younger, up and coming dude to a more seasoned vet, one of the things that's coming very clear to me is that it's really hard to track a training plan for these people and to help them stay on one. And I'm not interested in taking somebody's money and having them just come back for the same dog and pony show. I really want to see progression. I really want to help. So I was interested in, what you might do for students as far as training plans or take-home materials or reading lists, dry fire homework, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's hard to get people to train with firearms. Coming from a very disciplined martial arts background where people train every day, it's very hard to get used to that, when my client leaves me, that they may not pick up that firearm until they see me again. Yep. So I have to be flexible. I have to have several game plans available depending on the work that they put in. But what I tend to do with a lot of my clients is my primary job is to observe them and to interact with them, to ask them questions, to get them to engage in the training themselves. So I pay very close attention to what they tell me, because they'll usually tell me the thing that's plaguing them the most. I have one client that has a really hard time in competition. So it's not a shooting problem. She's not jerking the trigger. She's not seeing the sights. She's a very good shooter, but the performance problem is that she doesn't know how to stay in the performance zone. As Steve Anderson says, the match mode. How do I see the dot, call the shot over and over? So the thing that we can do best with people is isolate the one thing that we can truly improve in that hour and work on that. Don't work on 6 things. You'll confuse people. Pick one thing, improve it, because if they see improvement from that time to the next time, then they're going to start buying in more and more. You get some sort of inertia that's important in learning. If anybody's ever played a musical instrument, God, it's so hard. You first pick it up. I played the guitar and it sounded like I was torturing cats. Didn't sound much better later, but I started learning scales and I found the right teacher who instructed me on that's what that sounds like. That's what that sounds like, and that's what you have to spend time with your students. I watch people as closely as I can, and I watch them over and over again before I make an instruction, because I only have a very brief opportunity to influence them. And if I say the wrong thing, or I turn them off, or I don't really connect with them, then I miss that opportunity to change what's going on, to help them change. One of the most powerful questions that any instructor can ask is, tell me what you just saw. Because it'll tell you 2 things. If they didn't see anything, they're not engaged. And if they can't really describe what's happening, it gets them to buy into it. So, I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy and Socrates. And I think the question methodology to get people to buy into their training is really important, not to just do a gimmick, but to get them to think about what they're doing. I call myself a coach instead of instructor. I know there's not a big difference, but I've spent my life coaching athletes at a high level. And what I do is, part of it's an emotional support system. That's part of what shooting is.
Yes.
It's a tough thing. Yes, part of it's mental training. How do I understand pressure? How do I deal with the task at hand? And then some of it's physical. We have to combine those things as a coach. How can I connect with this person? Because you may be the most technical person in the world, but if you don't make that connection with them, and I don't mean that in some sort of, I'm making a hippie connection with you. Right. I'm really interested in your progress. I want to see you improve. And now I'm on your team, and I'm simply another set of eyes to help you improve. And I can watch for things that you may be unaware of, or that you have just done. You guys know Ashton Ray, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So we were at master's class.
He is a repeat offender of the podcast.
What an incredibly smart guy, and he did me a big solid because, I was at master's class with him and he said, "Hey, I see you're ducking your head on your draw." And I'd never done that before, but the pressure of the class caused me to do that little, I'm going to be super accurate squint. And he pointed it out to me. So what do you think I did? I came home for 3 weeks. I got a priceless piece of information and I worked on it and I turned it into a video and I turned it into a blog so people could understand that we're all still on that same journey to improve.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see the same, the typical instructor roadshow, right? 16-hour POI, nice job, see you later. And then you may not see that person again, maybe ever, if you're not doing a great job, or even, if you do a decent job. Truth is, that person's probably going to be back maybe next year.
Yeah.
Right. Versus, I have people I'm seeing weekly. Right. Mm-hmm. So I have a very vested interest in their growth, just from a personal, like you said, I really do care. And we're not like, singing Kumbaya and, praying together or anything like that. But David, I want you not to suck. That's for sure. And, it helps me as an instructor to hear what other people are doing. And I've heard different takes on that. I like yours as far as the focus on one thing. So real quick,
we're in a brutal occupation. It's a brutal occupation, but it doesn't mean we should be without empathy. I need to understand you. I need to understand me. I need to understand the person I'm fighting against. So it's the three of us. The coach gets to stand there before the fight. And then the person shows up at the fight, and hopefully we've done enough to prepare them that there's a key element to that, and that they know that they can perform under pressure. That's why Tom Gibbons has been so impressive in his. I think he has 67 people that have been in gunfights now. Because he has an instructional process that works. Over and over. I'm going to get you to do the things that are important, and let's be honest, shooting's not that hard.
Right.
It's not that big of a physical challenge, but it is a hard emotional and mental challenge.
Well,
point the thing at the thing and press the thing. Good job.
Well, but by their nature, look at what firearms instructors are teaching people to do. Mm-hmm. They're teaching people to save lives.
Yep.
Maybe it's their life, maybe it's the life of a loved one, but I refuse to believe that you can be capable as a successful firearms instructor and not at the same time have a true gene for empathy and care for the human condition. Like we're doing this to save lives. We're not teaching people to go out and we're not teaching you to go out and kill. We're teaching you to save lives. But why would you teach somebody to save life if you didn't care about life?
That's right.
It's just kind of the way it goes. We do have a question from the chat, though, just to kind of harken back to our brief stint on pepper spray. Landon Nelson asks,
what's up, Landon?
Yes, we got the whole crew in here, man. What do the statistics look like on successful civilian deployment of pepper spray?
Well, it's an incredibly hard subject to track because pepper spray oftentimes simply won't be reported.
Right.
And it's the same thing with defensive gun uses. In Georgia, we have no brandishing law. So a lot of gun uses, Claude Warner's a good friend of mine, and he tracks the data, thank God, because that's not my thing. But he tracks the data, and, he believes that a lot of gun uses are underreported because people just simply come to a low ready. And the simple application of that drives the person away. So same thing with pepper spray. It's really hard to know. We know that 90% or so, somewhere in that area, people respond to it. Mostly it's police statistics that we have to go by. I'm a graduate from the Force Science Institute too. So we spend a lot of time on how the force mechanics work for people in law enforcement. And, law enforcement's never going to be big on pepper spray because what do you got to do after you spray them? You got to go roll around with that guy. It's really tough, but for the armed citizen, I think a lot of pepper sprays just won't even be reported because, I told some guy to leave me alone. He wouldn't leave me alone. I sprayed him and I ran away. We try to talk to our people about making a proper 911 call, but a lot of people are just going to be happy they got away and let it go. So it's hard to know what the citizen marking looks like because, it's much like ballistic tests that we tried to do in the 90s. we didn't really know what we're looking at, it's hard to get honest reports on how things are working in the field, So I have a hard time answering that question, but I have students that have used it. I know people that have used it. Chuck Haggard has used it repeatedly, and he teaches an excellent course. We host him once a year. Highly recommend having him out. He'll do an instructor's course for you. And he has videos of him pepper spraying people, which is awesome. It's actually him pepper spraying people, and the immediate reaction of, if they're standing still, they instantly collapse and cover their eyes. If they're moving, they tend to drop and put their hands on their knees. If they're running, they tend to go to the ground because they inhale that whole thing. So
he
I hope
has
that kind of
videos
answers
of
the question.
he has videos of real life applications, like people.
Oh yeah, him doing it, as an officer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he brought a
able
camera crew around the city with him and was waiting for somebody to start something. That'd be
he opened a pizza shop in Brazil.
Mug me.
Yeah.
The best pizza in town.
Oh my goodness. So really, really cool to see you guys from the Apache crew in the chat. Shout out to you guys. These poor guys put up with me for a couple days up here for vehicle defense class from Vigor Training. We had a blast up here. Huh. I'm surprised they're able to stand. It's quite the weekend. So let's ask a couple generic questions in the gun training space. What is something that you think is way overblown as far as a training topic? I call it like 20% skills, right? I don't remember where I heard that, but I've probably heard it 3-4 places, to be candid with you. That whole thing that is being practiced to the nth degree and maybe isn't as important as they're giving it time. What do you think is something that people spend too much time on, I guess is what I'm saying?
Something that I see people that get divided about is speed and accuracy.
Okay.
As if they have a choice.
Yeah, right.
There is a timer in a fight and it's running. You need to be both. You need to be accurate and precise, which there is a difference between accuracy and precision. People need to understand that, If you shoot precisely, it's repeatable, but it doesn't mean it's hitting the target. If you're accurate, you're hitting the target, but it's not precise. So I think that one of the overblown things that people really get camped in is that they start practicing accuracy drills because they're already an accuracy person down to the nth degree. They won't allow an acceptable level of accuracy under speed. And then the opposite side of that is, speed people are driven to go fast and they're almost reckless. And, they'll be happy to shoot Alpha Mike because they went really fast. So I think something people have to do is whatever you love, you probably need to work on the other thing. That's the thing we're missing. As far as actual technical skills that we probably spend too much time on, it's all very cool. There's a level after you get through, basic fundamentals of marksmanship. Everything's kind of important. We've all taken, skills where we have to use our left hand to do reloads, and all that stuff and down shooter for the active civilian. We just don't see that. And then if you follow John Correa's work, one thing that he's talked about is he can't find a reload for a citizen in a self-defense encounter that has ever made a difference. So, but as shooters, we've got to practice reloads because otherwise we'll run around with empty guns, So I think that's an administrative skill we should be good at. But I think a lot of people spend a lot of time getting, a 1 second reload from gamer gear. And we know that statistically in USPSA, the reloads aren't killing people anyway. They're done in movement a lot of times. So it's not, that's not the big part. They spend too much time in transition or aiming at the target. So if I had to say one thing, it'd probably be spending too much time on reloads too early. You should have a good reload, but learn to really shoot the gun quickly and accurately at the same time at targets of varying size and especially targets of varying distances. People spend a lot of time in that golden zone where they're good at it. But Tom Givens' works takes us, his furthest distance is 22 yards. That's a pretty spicy shot in a self-defense situation, but most of them are more like a car length. So you should spend a big body of motion on work in the car length, but you should do some distance work too. So there's a couple of things I think we need to work on.
I love the I love the groans when I put up a B8 and I start walking back to the 25, and dudes are like, "What? I can't. What? Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. People just look at you like you're nuts. It's like, yeah, as it turns out, this is a thing.
But dude, if you're shooting a red dot now, 25 yards with a B8, it's not a challenge anymore. You know,
It's the freaking easy button.
It is
It's easy button.
Put it at 50. See what you could do there.
Yep, we play those games. I had a CCW Essentials class a couple weeks ago, and I do a thing where at the end of a class, whatever the deficiency was of the group, I make that the the king of the hill drill at the end, right? So for this group, this was thank you. This was transitions, right? Dudes are having real trouble in transitions. So I put up an IPSC target at like 6 yards. I was like, all right, dudes, we're going to do a bill drill. And they're like, oh, and I was like, but number 6 has to hit that steel at 50. And they stood there and looked at me, and I was like, yeah, like this. Pop, 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 ping. And then I looked over at Justin, and I'm like, holy shit, I aced the demo. Look at that. Now do it.
It's always a big risk, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, dude. And I was like, and then I paid the midget that I hit at the berm to ding the steel, and he left the range, and it was great. But no,
good for you for demoing, man. That's good.
Oh, I know.
You got to.
Hey, we flub them. Don't believe me. We flub them. I stand there and start laughing, and I go, not like that. What did I do wrong? But no, seriously. So these, people don't shoot at distance. They just don't. I can't tell you. If you go up here to West Shore Sportsman's and you go to Bay 2, there's a big worn out divot at the 7-yard line that looks like the dogs have been running back and forth. And the 25 looks like nobody stood on it. And, so that's a tough thing.
Well, a couple things to think about. Most people inside their house, they have probably a 45-yard shot. From one side to the other. So we got 15 yards there. And then Tom Givens has walked off most food courts in America. And if you're at an active shooter, you're probably looking at a 25-yard shot or more. So, we can't do all our work there, but it's important. You need to, and what kind of confidence does that breed in you and your self-esteem? We're talking about self-image training also when we teach people. I can easily hit that target at 25. So at 5, there's no problem. We want to build the image of the person so that they feel confident. That's what breeds confidence. Skill, practice beats skill. Skill breeds confidence. That's how it works.
It's scary, but then you don't. I guess Tom got away with it, but every time I get out a tape measure at the Walmart, they kind of look at me weird. So
he just walked it off.
Yeah, I was going to say he's using the old school artillery method of pacing the target.
Yep.
If you knew how short my legs were, that's 172 yards, sir. No, it's not. Yeah, but anyway. So what do you got coming up as far as firearms dates, like outside of the Georgia world? You got a bunch of stuff on the calendar?
Yeah, I got some stuff. I'm going to Tennessee, first person safety with Tiffany Racheal, two of my favorite people. They're hosting me, so get to shoot with them a little bit. And I'm going to Boondocks in Mississippi, which is maybe the finest firing range in the world that nobody knows about.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but that thing's
been, but I have heard.
Dude, I shot inside in the rain because they have a covered range that's outside. So it has a whole roof over it. And the targets are at the end of it. And it's so weird because it's metal, it's pretty high. And when you shoot, you get this resonance. It's really different. But you're, it rained the whole time and we're dry. And I was like, I'll take that.
That's
I know
neat.
You're not training if it's not raining. I get that. But I've done enough of that. I've been in a rain my whole life. So it was really nice. So be traveling there. I know I'm going to Indiana at some point. And I think I have one in Florida too. So.
Really cool.
It's been hard to travel before, but now I'm pretty freed up for it. So
we'll have to make you an official temporary resident of Pennsylvania one of these days. I'll bring you up and you can unfuck me in one way or the other. I'm sure there's something I'm doing that's all kinds of jacked up that you can tell me.
Maybe we can do it for each other,
Hey man.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. Now I of course am not the professional firearms instructor of the group. But if you stand about 15 yards behind Kent and go, That sucked. Go fucking faster. It really lights a fire in him. I don't know how that works.
So you're negatively motivated, huh?
So TJ and I had a fun range that. So we put the podcast and our jobs on hold for a couple of days, and we got the families together because we got this whole fledgling business partnership shit going, and we're really thrilled to have him and the kids and the corgi and the whole deal come up here, right?
Yeah.
But we did take like 3 hours to go to the range together and do work. And TJ was pushing my shit in for like 40 minutes to an hour. He was doing some seriously good work out there.
Good.
And he goes, oh, fuck, dude, I thought you were fast. And I was like, man, ha ha ha. So whatever. So we keep going, and I'm, I step up and I'm about ready to do a 3-2, and he goes, go effing fast. Just loud and as hard as you can yell at me. And I busted out a 181 3-2, which is a personal record and has never happened previously.
Yeah.
And he's just back there with that. Look at that look on his face right now. You see that look? That one. Yeah.
That's what we were looking for, man.
Yeah. So
you gave yourself permission to let go.
Oh yeah.
That's the key to this,
Oh yeah.
And when you got a buddy pushing you like that a little bit, your mind goes to the place, I'm just going to let go and do it. And
Absolutely.
That's where beautiful training lives, and it's hard to get to that sometimes. So
no, it's
well,
TJ.
Go
ahead, man.
It's we all run into this, right? And this is by no means me trying to kind of toot my own horn or anything like that. But there comes a point where those of us that take this far more seriously than the people that are equally regulars at our local ranges, right? We all know that guy. Maybe we are that guy that could arguably say that we're one of the better shooters at our local range. Because it's just because you take it that much more seriously than everybody else. So it's always nice when you can get together with your peers, from people from other locations, and when you get all these great shooters together, and you don't worry about, developing training POIs and the formalities that go into it, the pomp and circumstance and the prestige that goes into educating and instructing and coaching somebody, when you could just cut loose and be like, fuck that, go faster.
Mm-hmm.
You can be laid back with it. You can free yourself. You can get rid of those stressors.
Yep.
So
and inject alternate forms of stress, like screaming at your buddy from 15 yards behind him that he wasn't expecting to hear.
It's interesting too, because TJ always comes on here and humbles himself, and we all humble ourselves a great deal. But dude can shoot like a house on fire, right? Like TJ's got it down, and it's really, really cool to be pushed by somebody else you respect so much. That's all we do, right? The reason we pay for 2 days of training with so-and-so is because we want to go put ourselves out there and try to better ourselves. And, you always, this is why, I don't want to get down on a diatribe, but if your trainer isn't training, like if whoever your instructor isn't stacking up certs, not for the sake of stacking up certs, but because when somebody says, hey, do you wanna, the first answer is yup, right? Like, yeah, I do. That's what it's really about. So speaking of that, Brian, what's your most favorite training event that you've been to recently? I'm not going to ask you to pick a favorite because that's not fair. You've got such a wide resume. But what was the class you were at recently that you're like, oh man, that was great?
I went to Tom Given's master instructor class.
Oh, right. You were saying you and Ashton and those dudes were out.
Yeah, there were some real shooters. Tim Chandler, Ashton Ray, a bunch of guys that I'd never met before that could really, really shoot. And, Tom does an awesome job on presenting the history of shooting. If you think all this stuff is new, he can prove it to you otherwise.
Yeah, right.
And we did a lot of cool stuff because it was about teaching. Everybody presented their own drill, which was cool as hell. We had 20 different people presenting their favorite drill that either they developed or it's somebody else's drill. So as an instructor, you get a notebook full of drills to take home. I thought that was great. And then Tom always makes us shoot against each other. Everybody's got to shoot against each other. And he had some pretty cool drills that I won't give away, but it was interesting stuff. And then we had to shoot wheel guns and we had to shoot left-handed.
I'm great at that.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to shoot right-handed. You'd probably be great at that too.
Guns have wheels?
Yeah. In the old days.
Oh, those were the cannons, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They
They rotated.
God.
Yeah.
You know, we saw some of those when we went to Gettysburg.
We did. We went to get. So leave it to. Gee, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
So I'm taking TJ and his family around Gettysburg, right? And every other family there is like, taking pictures and doing this and doing that. And TJ's just looking around like, they fought here? I'm like, yeah, they fought here. And he's like, here. I'm like, yeah, right here. He's like, whose brilliant good idea was that? And I'm like, here's Mr. Military Intel guy going, why not over there? I'm like, I wasn't there, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, we've got a mountain, Kennesaw Mountain, just down the street from us. Big battle. Every time I walk it, I was like, who the hell walked up this hill to go get to the top of that?
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
You look at these battle sites and you're like, geez, guys, could you pick a worse place to fight?
Yeah. You don't got to be Stonewall Jackson to know you don't need to fight in a basement.
Yep.
That's funny.
So, but yeah, it was good times.
So you of course have named your business and you refer to yourself as the Complete Combatant. Complete meaning more than just pew pew, I'm assuming, right? So this is I'm gonna turn it over to my trunk ginger. We call TJ the trunk ginger because I just hit the button in the truck and then he comes bailing out and he deals with all the problems and I keep going. It's great.
Yeah, I married a ginger, so I know how it is, man.
It's man,
world's on fire.
No soul. Yeah. But I want to turn it over to you, dude, so you can talk about the stuff that I'm woefully unqualified and hoping to change that. So
good question. So I appreciate it, man.
Oh, cool, man. So hit him with some JIT stuff, TJ. What do you got for him?
Well, I think first of all, let's Brian, let's give you the opportunity to actually explain kind of the foundation of what is the Complete Combatant.
So my idea was this, that through my experience, I realized that there is the soft skill set that we all talk about, which is the proactive part before the fight, where we're developing the idea that we're under duress, that it may be a problem, somebody may be coming towards us, that we have to activate from there, that we have to use our verbal skills and our distancing. We may have to use a less than lethal weapon, or we may have to engage in unarmed combat, or we may have to go to a firearm. And then immediately after the fight, there's several things that we need to do, like calling 911 and how to do that, how to interact with the law enforcement officers so you don't get shot by them and you don't end up in jail forever, losing everything that you ever earned. And then there's the legal battle that happens immediately after that. So, we say we have 3 battles to fight as I like to call us armed citizens instead of civilians, because we have the physical battle and we absolutely have to win it. And then we have the financial battle, the legal battle that happens afterwards. But then we have the moral battle, too, of how this all goes together. And a good friend of mine, Jack Clemens, I was teaching him. And Jack Clemens is 6'8", 380. He was in my jiu-jitsu class, just a small fellow. But we were working on some stuff.
Yeah,
and he's like,
flyweight. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he's my genesis of this. And, he's been in the firearms industry a long time. And I started talking to him. He said, I've never heard all this stuff put together before like this. So the idea, the genesis seed was with him. And what we wanted to do is from the very first signs of danger until the absolute end of the legal fight, how to prepare somebody with what a law enforcement officer would go with, on the job training. They go out with a field training officer and they work through scenarios in the academy. So they get prepared. And there's so much more to the self-defense application than just shooting, that I felt it was really important to train people all the way across. And I think that came from being a mixed martial arts instructor and taking people to fights, because I've never found anything more pressureful than preparing to fight another man for 8 weeks and knowing he's working every day to do everything he can to destroy me. And then I have to simply wait for that time to come, enter the cage, let the door shut, and then he and I are going to throw down. And there's a lot more than physical techniques that go into preparing for that. And, we do walkthroughs as fighters. We do mental preparation. We do, what's going to happen afterwards, win or lose, how we're going to deal with it. So the idea of the Complete Combatant was to give somebody a total spectrum of the whole self-defense thing. And since I've been a student my whole life, I was well suited to be able to fill all this out. I had to take a couple courses to fill in. Like I did Andrew Branca's instructor's program for law of self-defense and
fantastic book, by the way.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it for those that are playing the home game and either catching this on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast player. Andrew Branca's Laws of Self-Defense, fantastic book, worth every penny. Get it, get the hardbound or the paperback, take notes, bring a highlighter. This thing will set you up for success when preparing for at least what to expect with regards to the laws of self-defense, as the book's entitled. So I'm really glad to hear you reference that.
Yeah.
Dude, just a quick sidebar. We've really got to do like an Oprah style reading list for the podcast.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Duly noted.
Yeah. Sorry, not to get you off track.
No, you're fine. But yeah, so, no, dude, I think that's a fantastic approach. I really like that mindset, that comprehensive outlook on teaching and building and forming, the next, what we like to call well-prepared and responsible self-defender. So let's talk about a little bit more about your training offerings. So obviously we've discussed some of the stuff that you handle on the range. I think that's quite clear at this point. And for those of you that aren't aware, thecompletecombatant.com is Brian's website. I am referencing it here for this discussion. It's also included in the description, so feel free to hit that up, as well as his social media for Instagram. So you can find him there. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about your off-the-range training.
Okay.
So I see here, just from the top level menu items, you have proactive mindset, of course, your intro to pepper spray, which we touched on, and your close quarters decisions, and your force readiness, 1 or 1.5 day options. So why don't you take us down the list? And one of the things that I'd also like to talk about, because you've mentioned martial arts and we were talking about jiu-jitsu and MMA training before we went live. I'd like to eventually get into that topic of how you've been incorporating that type of training into your menu of offerings here with the Complete Combatant.
Well, the proactive mindset is basically the soft skills course. It allows people to understand what the violent criminal actor is like, and how your response will be, how your intuition works. Gavin DeBecker's book, The Gift of Fear, is something that everybody should read. It's very important. I grew up in a pretty bad neighborhood with some fairly crazy folks for parents, so I have a pretty good insight into how the mind works. So that's primarily a very soft skill set. We do a little verbal skills. We teach people how to recognize when they're in danger. And I think that's a really important one. I do that a lot at businesses for real estate, and then we incorporate that with the pepper spray. The pepper spray is the gateway weapon to self-defense. I haven't found anybody who wouldn't carry pepper spray if they're allowed. And it's a great way. We teach very much like Craig Douglas's Managing Unknown Contacts, how to keep the hands up, how to work the frames, how to have a verbal loop that runs so you can still observe what's going on with the other person. And then in that class, you actually get to spray each other with inert. So you get some squirt gun wars where we put glasses on as targets, which is a really useful thing because most people miss the first couple times they use the pepper spray. It's useful for that. And then close quarter decisions is a small part of force readiness, where I teach people how to retain their firearm or how to take a firearm and when it is appropriate to actually access their firearm during close quarters, which is a very important topic. We talk a lot about the appropriate type of holsters, appendix versus strong side, retention techniques that work. It's all very much wrestling based, Greco wrestling based, where we use underhooks, overhooks, and ties, and simple stuff that people can readily adapt to what they're doing. And we found in our force readiness class that whoever drew the gun first in close contact usually lost it. And Craig Douglas's work is very similar to that, so it's very important to understand that if you're within that 6 foot distance of close range, actually 9 foot or so, where you could reach out and grab each other, that you have some skill sets to retain the firearm or to take a firearm away or to keep yours from getting taken from you. And then force readiness is the whole program without the shooting. So, we have a legal talk. We do basic trauma care with tourniquets. My wife has been in medical for a long time, so we make people throw tourniquets on during the class. And what it is an escalation of skills where we teach you to manage distance, to use verbal skills, how to draw appropriately, how to use the pepper spray, some basic self-defense things, how to fight off your back or face down in a down position. And then we build scenarios around that. And then we teach them the after action things like calling 911, and, you know, the follow-up with the police and what they need to say and how they react with that. And then the end of that day, there's a testing where everybody in a class watches your scenario. And when you get done with that, you sit down with another student and they pretend to be your lawyer and give you a debrief so that you understand the 5 elements of self-defense. And then also everybody gets to see what human reaction looks like under pressure, because it's very interesting. The human mind knows no difference between an imagined experience and a real experience. So when we're training like that, people's heart rates go through the roof and they get to feel what a freeze feels like. Everybody freezes. They just don't realize it. You have to learn to break it. You have to recognize what a freeze is and how to break it. Some people are so weapon centric that they'll do the wrong thing over and over. Some people get stuck in a loop, and it's very interesting. We have them describe the person that they've been looking at for 2 days, because I'm the instructors, you know, one of our instructors, and they have a hard time describing them afterwards. So I've instituted Force Sciences, the way that they do the interview process, the cognitive interview process at the end of class. And we do a debrief with that. And I think as far as the armed citizen, it's a really comprehensive introduction to maybe auditing your skill set.
So interesting that you brought up the heart rate thing.
Yeah.
We're doing so the last 4 hours of Phil's POI for this Phil Groff Vigor Training. Shameless plug for him. Last 4 hours of his POI this weekend was vehicle-based force on force, and one of the dudes was like, "Hold on, my watch is freaking out." And here is his heart rate monitor thing that he had hooked up to his Apple Watch was just going berserk, right? And he's not even. All this gentleman was doing was standing there watching somebody else go through a force on force evolution that he was about to go through.
Yeah. And
his heart rate spiked hard. I mean, this dude's a runner and in pretty good physical shape. And, you know, he's all of a sudden, he's like, my resting heart rate's not usually 90. like, I'll bet it's not, bro. Welcome to.
Well, you know, it's really weird for me to hear in the firearms community that still people quote Seidel's work about heart rate and the loss of motor skills at high heart rate, which is untrue.
Yeah.
Most mixed martial arts fighters are running 160, 170 during a round. But they're able to do very complicated techniques. You know, they can perform a kimura, or omoplata, or an armbar, or a triangle, which is much more complicated than it will ever be to operate a firearm. But I routinely hear people quote, you know, if your heart rate gets so high, you're just going to shut down. And maybe, people do shut down because they're not used to it. But it doesn't stop your body. Actually, it's, that's a good response. You want to have that response because it's getting ready. It's pumping blood to everything that needs to fight.
Yeah, I was just saying something about fight or flight keeps coming to mind from, my freshman year of, Psychology 101.
Yeah. But, a lot of, we have to think is most modern people, they don't have a lot of this anymore. The first bad experience they have is their first bad experience. And they have a lot of fears and they have a lot of things that they build up in their mind that simply aren't true. And then how many of us have to overcome bad advice constantly? The one that I hear constantly is, if you shoot somebody outside, drag them in. Really? You think they're not going to follow that blood trail inside your house?
Christ.
Oh my goodness. Somebody, and it's always some police officer told them that, So we get into these weird things, but I think people have a more, we don't come with an owner's manual and we need one. And that's kind of what this does. So
quick a sidebar and a funny story. TJ and I decided to make a quick trip to Sportsman's Warehouse because he had never been to one. And there's one right over here by my house, right? So I decided to buy a HoloSun 407.
Oh, God.
Oh, listen, this is great. I decided to pick up a HoloSun 407 real quick because I'm going to try the M&P core out a little bit just because, just TJ got on me about being so Glock centric and wanting to be able to train and whip out different guns for people.
Whoa, hold on. Time out. Don't put your impulse purchases on me.
Okay, well, whatever.
You asked me if it was a good idea. I was like, well, dude, it would be nice for you to have another popular striker fired gun in your toolbox.
Well, all right, so some things happened. Kent bought a gun.
Yes.
Kent needed a dot for the gun. You get where we're going.
Yep. Much more accurate statement.
Okay, any hooser. So we're at Sportsman's Warehouse hanging out, waiting for a Hollow Sun 407 because they had them pretty cheap. And they're doing the take a number thing and hang out, like the old Cabela's tactic, which left TJ and I standing in the gun section of Sportsman's Warehouse for 45 minutes. Oh my God, dude. Seriously. I
wonder if that guy ever found that holster for his PMR 30.
Dude, we're standing over there, and try as we might, it was only 5 minutes before we were over by the holsters, and there's a girl reaching for a Serpa, and literally at the same time, we're both like, don't do it. Don't do it. We ended up seriously, we had people coming up to us asking us for stuff, and the conversations that you have, and it's been a while since I've been into one of those places and stood around and whatever, right? The shit people are getting told out there still just amazes me.
This poor woman was looking for a drop leg holster for her Springfield Hellcat.
Hand to God, that happened.
Well,
yeah.
Good luck on that one.
I'm like, ma'am, I don't think they make those, but you probably don't want it.
Uncle Mike's would be your best bet.
It's just
the Uncle Mike squishy.
Yep.
I'll give you that over a Serpa. Jesus.
But the unfortunate thing is for some of these people, and we as gun owners, we have to be cognizant of this, and certainly podcasters and ambassadors and people in the training community and whatever. The level of knowledge about this entire topic, essentially for most of Americana, extends to Pappy or Granddaddy or Daddy or Mommy told me, or my cousin's uncle's brother's nephew Larry, who was in the
who was almost a cop,
right? Or seems like every dude on the face of the planet has a Force Recon Ninja SEAL scuba diver. It's hilarious because the actual SOF community is like 6 dudes. It seems like there's not very many people in SF really, but yet everybody is, right? It's just that whole thing. So we have to remember as trainers and as ambassadors, and if you're working in a store or whatever you're doing, the people coming to us are coming to us like me today when I walked into Home Depot to ask the stupidest question about flooring in the face of the planet, right? And the guy's just giving me that 1,000-yard stare, like I'm the 700th dickhead that asked him if the waterproof flooring was really waterproof, right?
Yeah.
It's just like,
hey, now I think that's a valid question.
Well, right.
It might be waterproof if you spill a glass, but when your basement floods and it comes from the other direction,
right? Yeah,
it might be a little more porous. I think it's a sound question.
My point being that we have to humble ourselves, and we have to take ourselves back to that point in time when it was that we thought we knew something, and it turns out we didn't. Which for me seems like it happens about every 6 hours still. But we just can't be quite so snobbish, and so.
Well, I teach a beginner's class still, absolute beginners from the start.
I do a lot of that.
I could not do that. I could probably get away with never teaching one again, but it keeps me grounded into being an ambassador. And I want them to get the first lesson I wish I had had. Where somebody is a subject matter expert and can really help and guide them. Because there's so many new instructors that get stuck teaching beginning students, and that's a real backwards thing. Martial arts figured that out. You have the master instructor there, and he trains all the other instructors while he watches them. And somewhere in the firearms industry, we got to the point where you can go to a weekend class, become an instructor, and then you're good to go. you know, and I think it's really important that we be good ambassadors. And then at my local gun store, I'm there constantly. I shoot competition. I teach clients out of there. And when I'm on the range, people come and ask me things, and I make sure that their first contact is good because they just assume I work there. So I'm going to start asking for a paycheck or something soon. But
yeah, it doesn't help that we fit the bill of.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah. What do you mean, you people? I mean, you.
What do you mean?
I don't get it.
Yeah, you, the asshole that looked like he got dragged through a 511 catalog. You look like you work here.
Yeah.
And it didn't help, Kent. We actually did. Creepy story, by the way. Kent and I are apparently so in tune with each other's like aura, or the stars were aligned. Mercury was in retrograde or something. But we'd like our families would respectively go get ready for whatever the day's activities were. And his bedroom is all the way on the other side of the house. We were staying in their basement on the opposite side. We would come out wearing the same thing.
Like the same thing.
It might not have been the exact brand, but like if I was in jeans with my tennis shoes and a blue button-up shirt, Kent was in tennis shoes, jeans, and a blue button-up shirt. It was creepy.
The girls started joking. We looked like the protective security detail for like some. It was pretty like it was bad. It was, well, it's not contractor camo because neither of us do that, but it's definitely like.
That was one of the nicer things they said about us, but we'll leave it at that because I'm still in therapy.
But you end up wearing it because it's useful.
Yes,
well, yeah.
That's really what happens. And,
it's utilitarian.
I know my tribes. Like I can look at martial arts guys and tell whether you're a striker, whether you're a grappler, whether you're a guard player, or whether you're a wrestler. And I've taught my wife to do it so she can recognize our tribe anywhere in the world, because what you do forms you, and you can't get away from that. And there's a look about people that shoot that, it tends to draw guys that are deeply analytical, that are very competitive and drawn to improving themselves in a certain way. And then who's not going to wear a ball cap every day? Because it works.
Oh my God.
Well, I wear it every day. This is my natural hair color now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been bald since like 20, bro. This is what I wear. But yeah, so just so we're clear, are you actively, and so for the record, I'm really sorry to hear that you had to close your MMA gym.
Yeah.
It actually affected the martial arts community across the country quite substantially. There were a lot of gyms that had to close. There's some people that might think, oh, it's an MMA gym, they're making money hand over fist. And sadly, that's not the case. Most of these gyms are operating on a month-to-month basis. It's just the nature of it. So it's always a sad day to hear those close. So I am sorry to hear that your gym closed. But at the same time, I consider it fortuitous because you're able to rededicate that time and energy into other elements that you're very skillful at, especially with regards to your coaching and instructing. But how have you continued to envelop the martial arts, or call it hand-to-hand combatives training, into your current course offerings for maybe the firearm side or maybe even the off-the-range side?
Yeah, we really have canceled everything that had close contact because we had the 6-foot social distancing problem. So pepper spray, once again, we can still run that class. That's really good. As far as for me, a lot of solo drilling. There's a lot of things that you can practice over and over by yourself, which is difficult. And then once maybe in the next couple of weeks, my instructors are going to start coming over, and we're going to go back to a kind of a club activity where we practice together. There's 5 or 6 of us that are pretty high level. And then we'll incorporate everything with guns, also with knives, and then full jujitsu and striking and everything like that. So, and then I don't know when people get to the point normal people are ready to have contact with each other. It's been very weird in Georgia. They released all the businesses to open again, but I went to Best Buy today, and you can't go in Best Buy. You have to get an appointment. If you don't have an appointment, you maybe can tell them what you want, and they'll go look and see if they have it, but you're not allowed in the business. But Walmart, everybody's in. Home Depot, Lowe's is full, but people still stand at weird distances. And I had a lady say, "Excuse me," today, and she must have been 4 feet from me, which is a change in proxemics. and human beings, their distancing has changed during this. No matter what they think, their proxemic distance has changed, and it's been rated to a higher distance now. When you look at some of the plagues in the historical accounts, they did the same thing we're doing. Stay away from this. The earth is poisonous. Don't touch that. So I think we're going to have a little while before we get back to full combatives and getting people into that. We're going to a friend of ours' place in August to do that in his jiu-jitsu gym and get that started. But it's really interesting how it's affected people mentally, how close they want to stand to each other. Firearms is easy to do because it's outside and we can be, we have a huge range, so we can be as far apart as you want to be as long as I can control the line. So.
Right. So, with those concerns, barring those concerns, and obviously, the 6 foot distancing rule, and I kind of have to back myself up a little bit because we just started for our jiu-jitsu gym. We do our warm-ups. We kind of have the 6 foot distance, and we have just recently started rolling again, but instead of rotating partners, you keep the same partner.
Yeah.
And it's something you can opt out of if you want to drill solo. They've, coaches have got stuff set up, for you to do your thing if you're uncomfortable with it. But yeah, it's brand new. I get pardon the ignorance, but I forget that there are other states here in the South that still aren't quite to that level yet.
Yeah.
But with that being said, all things being back to some semblance of normalcy, and I'm only asking, either I missed it or it's just not on your website yet. But is there going to be any type of formal, clinic or seminar that you might be doing that is more MMA or jiu-jitsu style heavy?
I think probably in the fall.
Okay.
If we don't see a resurgence of it, it will get back to, frankly, my firearms classes are selling out right and left right now. So I've been very fortunate that way. I'm very blessed to have that time. So, as Tom Givens says, we all only have about 30 weekends out of the year we can work due to holidays and being off and time and weather. So we're filling up those with what the clients want right now. And everybody wants to shoot, apparently. So I hope in the fall we'll get back to it. And see if there's people, like I said, and I'll be doing a class. I think it's in August, just down the street in Georgia, middle Georgia. So,
okay,
we'll see.
Just for those dudes playing the home game, proxemics is the amount of distance that people are comfortable putting between themselves and others. Because there's at least one person who had to do some quick Googling on that one.
When my wife married me, she got a dictionary. So that's the going joke at my house.
That's pretty fun. I was like, proxemics, like proximity. I get it now.
Makes sense.
They did a lot of root word.
Yeah.
I can't spell root or word. So listen, we're doing fine.
Another book for your gun list, Left to Bang.
Everybody
should read it.
Gavin
he
DeBecker
talks about it. Yep. So Gavin DeBecker did Gift of Fear.
Gift of Fear. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, and that's the Marine Corps Hunter program, and it's very useful. You can apply it to your life. So,
those both of those are somewhere in the stack of nonsense that came out of my basement. So, somewhere around here. Oh my goodness. Let's see what else.
Well, real quick. So, Brian, as I'm looking here, I see that you have a 501c3 that you support called Racheal's Rest. I'd like to give you a moment to talk about that.
Thank you. As a survivor myself, growing up in a very dysfunctional household, we support Racheal's Rest, which offers ongoing therapy for survivors so that we not save this generation, but we save the next generation. Part of sexual abuse and physical abuse is that it's passed on from generation to generation. And if we don't get the people who have survived it help, the tendency is to do it over and over again. So Racheal's Rest is very near and dear to our heart. Shelley was on the board and I was on the board for a long time, and now we support it as a charity where they do just wonderful counseling for people who have survived. Just imagine the two people you trust the most in your life are your parents, and they betray you. How do you get over that? How do you become a functioning human being? How do you work with your own children that you're now involved in. So this is a really important part. And I think it's one of the few counselings that actually spends time with them and helps them and works with them and gets them going back on. So we're real proud to be a part of that. And I appreciate you for bringing it up. We did an instructor raffle for the Mingle every year, where all the instructors put in a gift certificate and people raffle it off. And and Glock sent us a gun to raffle off, an HK. And the gun community is by far the most giving, generous, driven group. It's so, people have so pigeonholed us as something we're not, and it's just amazing, the degree of generosity that's in the gun culture, and I'm really grateful for that. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Absolutely, and for those of you that are unaware, we will be putting the link for Racheal's Rest. Of course, you can go to thecompletecombatant.com. Right there on his homepage. Scroll down about halfway, you'll see quite a bit of information there about it, as well as links. I'm going to also carry those links over to our description here in the video. I think that's a fantastic charity to get behind and support, and Kent and I would love to throw some support behind that as well.
Cool.
So anything we can do to help out, just let us know.
Wonderful.
Yeah, let's do that right now. There's like 10 or so many dudes in the chat that I know are all cool people. If you guys go send me a thing from there right now, we'll send you one of our t-shirts or something. Cool. So hit me up. Let me know that you did something for Racheal's Rest, and we'll send you a Sling'N t-shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Once again. Yep.
Yeah, I'm actually on the board of Hold My Guns, the suicide prevention charity, firearms related, and TJ and I have supported that. It's so funny, man. I have never been a part of a more supportive business community, right? Hell, I had Jedi coming in here the other week, and Phil Groff, who should be my local competitor, quote unquote, right? I'm able to call homeboy up and go, dude, I just got COVIDed out of my range. Is there any way you can help me? And he's like, sure, come over here. Like, what are you, are you kidding me? Like, we're all so good to each other, and in my regular everyday life day job, you don't see that. People are so damn cold, and it's nice to be able to do something little. So yeah, man, Tony and Landon and dudes from Apache and whoever else is on here live or whatever, just if you hear this on the podcast, send me a thing. Let me know you bought let me know you donated to Racheal's Rest in some way, and I'll send you a Sling'N t-shirt. So there.
Awesome.
Let's see.
Or better yet, buy a t-shirt, and all proceeds from that purchase will go towards Racheal's Rest.
Stop being so smart, TJ. Yeah,
I do what I can.
whatever
I do what I
thing
can.
was.
Yeah, just buy the shirt, and we'll make sure that the money gets sent over to Racheal's Rest. We'll be happy to do that.
That's the smart way to see. Thank God, that's why I need you, man.
There's less moving parts, bro. Less moving parts. With that, I appreciate you sharing that with us, Brian. Thank you very much. But to get onto, or at least get back onto, the lighter side of things, we are coming up to our hour and a half mark. We would not be doing the gun podcast and gun tuber arena justice if we did not get onto some gear topics. So
fine.
Break it down for us. What are you running? What kind of a holster setup you got going on? What's your EDC loadout looking like? What's your setup?
Well, I'm an industry shill, so I got my HK hat right here. We're a brand ambassador for them, so I'm running a VP9 long slide. I have a SIG Romeo 1 on it. Because they keep sending me more of those for free every time I break them. So it's worked pretty good.
I was waiting to say that if you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I've been through 3 of them.
I've been through 3, and I've been through 3 iron sights too. So it's tied right now. And the last generation has been really good. But, I was originally a SIG shooter, and Scott made fun of me because I showed up to his class with a 226. That's what I was shooting for a long time. But I really like the VP9, and I'm probably the worst guy to talk about this because you really can shoot anything if you put your mind to it. The reason I don't shoot a Glock is it doesn't fit my hand. I have those big Thenars right there, and it tends to push the grip, so I have to send it to bore sight and spend $1,100 to make it fit my hand. So I pick up a gun that works for me. As far as holster, JM Custom Kydex, because he's the only man in the world that makes a holster for a VP9 long slide with a TRL1 on it, which is incredibly hard to find. So running the flashlight, not because I care so much about the flashlight, because I like a little bit of weight on that really light pistol. It helps me a lot. It's great to have also. And then, Copia magazine holders, because I can change between guns. I oftentimes demonstrate with different firearms in class, because it's not like it used to be. It used to be all Glocks, and it's not that way anymore. So I need to show double action, single actions. I need to show the 1911 guys how to run their guns, revolvers. And there's some important teaching points for instructors to make sure that they're running the decocker, that they're running the safety appropriately, that they understand how to press a double action trigger. So I'll move back and forth from those. But right now I'm an HK guy and running it hard, and it's been a good gun for me. So,
teaching 1911 guys is pretty simple. It's just like making a sandwich. You start with the jam.
Oh my goodness. So
hey, I got one that runs. It just costs $3,000.
Yeah, my dad jokes are better than your dad jokes, Ken.
Yeah, you got me beat. I'm a little at your disadvantage tonight. I'm half beat. So real quick though, this weekend we shot a car with a 45, and the car did not flip over.
Yeah, but somebody's relatives disappeared, I'm sure. Because if you shoot them, the whole lineage goes away. Whoever was in that car. That's
not the thunderous crack of the semi-subsonic bullet. That is God trembling at the sound of a 45 racking.
TJ, who was the dude that you looked at while we were together, and you're like, motherfucker, you are the reason they make a 10 millimeter.
I can't remember. It was, I said 45. You're the reason they made a 45. God, I don't remember who the hell it was.
That's pretty funny.
I say that to a lot of people. Generally, if I meet someone and I look straight ahead and I'm looking in between their pecs or like right at their center line of their sternum, that's the reason God made a 45. I'm probably going to say that joke to you if you're taller than me.
I like it. So we're coming up here in the last couple minutes, Brian. So let's let you.
I have to do something really unprofessional. I got to grab my charger. My battery's dying quick here.
Oh my goodness! Well, we can do that. We'll sell some T-shirts and get some donations while you do that. Tony, go buy a T-shirt. Tony, go buy a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
No, silencers do not sound like mouse farts. Tony, I understand you got to play with a suppressor or a silencer. That's awesome. But no, they do not sound like mouse farts. I will say that's probably one of the greatest detriments that I think Hollywood has done to the firearms industry, at least with respect to the National Firearms Act, that is they made apparently you can screw a muffler to the end of it and make it all that much more deadly, and nobody will hear the crack of the bullet. So it's just sad. It really is.
Tony's the guy who broke the stock on my MPX.
Now, see, there you go. Break it. No, soda bottles don't work. I've tried that shit. You want to launch a soda bottle across an indoor range. That's how you do it. So anyway,
sorry.
No, you're fine. It's happened.
I was watching it click down to 2%. I'm like, I'm not going to make it.
Pull up.
Yep. What happened to Brian? Oh well.
My goodness. So what was I about to? Oh, coming up on the end. This is the part where we let you do you, right? So you got stuff you want to say. You got a topic you want to cover. You got something you want to get off your chest. You got a thing that you just want to go on a crazy tirade about. Whatever you've got that you'd like to say for your final piece. And then, of course, please, dude, do all your capitalism, right? Like,
all right.
All the links, all the places they can find you, all the ways they can support you, et cetera, et cetera.
So I'll start with my favorite rant that's most important to me. Everybody can get better at shooting. There is no special skill. There's no genetic thing. It's great if you have big hands and great eyesight. That helps tremendously. People shoot really well. That's
0 for 2.
But this tool, it can be used well by everybody. You just need to recognize the processes of marksmanship. It always applies to you. You need to have good posture and stance. You need to have a fine grip on the firearm. You need to understand trigger and sights at the same time. And you need to stay in the process of shooting. If you'll do those things, you can achieve anything. It will take a bit of practice. Everything worthwhile does. You'll build your self-image through practice, and you'll come to be confident in what you're doing. And when I say practice, I mean 3 or 4 times a week for 5 or 10 minutes can make a world of difference. Follow the competitors in this arena. They shoot the guns at the fastest pace anybody does. Ben Steger said something the other day in his show that was just brilliant. He was talking about driving the eyes on transitions. And this is kind of technical for some of us, but you were talking about transitions earlier. And he said, don't drive your eyes and then drive the gun because you're going to overdrive it. He said, do it like a mouse. He goes, every day you operate a mouse and you don't miss the target. How do you do that? And I was like, man, that's just brilliant, because it's a gentle movement of the hand, but we get there as quickly and efficiently as possible. And really, shooting is about efficiency. Get rid of everything that doesn't work. Don't believe in absolutes for yourself, and allow yourself to become more and more efficient. And then you simply must go fast after that. You have to let go. You have to let go of your ego. You have to understand what speed practice is, and then there's a more acceptable target than having precise, leprechaun holes that you shoot through, and allow yourself to grow in that way. And if you develop speed, when you need it, it will be there, and you'll have more processing power. You should be able to describe where the dot was, and you should be able to call that shot every time. That takes a lot of practice. Dry practice is really good with the dot. I highly recommend it. Don't be afraid of the dot. It is an investment. But if you have eyesight issues, my wife is a fantastic shooter. She's a very good shooter, and she works very hard at it, and she's very gifted reaction-wise. She's really, really fast for all shooters, not just for a woman. She's a very fast shooter, but she couldn't see the sights well because her eyes don't adjust to that focal point. I had her shoot a Rangemaster bullseye course the other day, and there's a possible 300 points on that, and she shot a 289 on it because she could understand the symbol of a dot. Sights are merely symbols of where the gun's pointing. It is not the end all be all. Just because you had to come up in a sucky way and use a symbol that didn't work as well as the new one, don't be afraid of it. If I gave a lecture, I'd use the laser pointer instead of a stick because it's more effective. Use that laser pointer. Don't be afraid of it. You're now at the point where almost every firearms company offers a platform that allows you to try an optic out. And you can get on it. And now we got some good instructors that are teaching red dots. So please, Jedi's really led the way on this. And we've all been influenced by that. We're really grateful to that. And I think the red dot may not be right for everybody. And there are a couple of things iron sights still do very well in close work, but the red dot's really a big step ahead. And I'm a rifle shooter, a precision shooter, and a carbine shooter. And I feel like I'm having the same conversation I had 10 years ago again about red dots, and it's just, this is a force multiplier for accuracy. You're going to be more accurate, and it's much faster if you learn to be target focused. Most people don't focus on the target with the dot enough. They try to manage the dot like a front sight. So get some training on it. It'll keep you from having a year of mistakes and you have to go back and fix it. You can get really good with this stuff if you'll just seek out. There's more information on the internet than there's ever been in the history of the world. You can get good at shooting right now. So please do so. If you need me, I've got a YouTube channel, Instagram. We have one for the Complete Combatant. I'm the Chief Chaos Controller because that's what I do. All right. We have Facebook. We have all that. And I try to respond to people's questions as fast as you can. If you go to thecompletecombatant.com, everything's there. Scheduling's there. Pages are there. Thank God my wife, I've dubbed her the independent organizational wizard. She does all this stuff and she keeps up with it. So our company runs at a very good pace. Instead of me, occasionally saying hello, you get rapid response and you get good stuff going on. But I'm also doing Active Self-Protection Extras channel. Their daily dry fire. John's been kind enough to allow me to be the guest instructor on that. So I get a lot of good feedback on that. And, I love to talk about shooting. Not as much about guns as you can tell, but about shooting. And I love to see people improve. And I want all of you to take the time and get better. And if there's any way I can help any of you, please let me know.
Awesome, man. Well, TJ and I keep saying this, but we're increasingly honored by the folks who grace us with their time and their effort. So your family now, dude. If you need anything, let us know. If you want to come back, and promote something or something we can do to help you guys, we're here at your disposal. And offline, you and I will talk about figuring out hosting dates, and you can come up and
that'd be wonderful.
Good Lord knows I need all the schooling that I can get. So we'll get you up here and we'll let you participate in that. So Tony, we love you, man. Tony says, I bought the shirt. Give the charity the money. So we love that. So real quick, support these dudes, guys. Anybody that we're bringing on this show, please, for love of God, go train with Brian. Go support Brian on the socials. Go find the Complete Combatant. Go like, favorite, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. Landfair on PNS is always saying, that these things, likes and likes and favorites and shares, all that stuff. This stuff is currency today. So if you can't get out and train with my man, if you can't actually spend money with his business, just give him a little internet one-uppins and do what you can to help him at the very least. But with that said, man, oh man, do we have some stuff going on around here. We got Timmy coming. Timmy, I promise, man, I'm getting the basement ready for you to sleep in. I told you could stay at my house for gun class. By the time you get here, you could stay at my house for gun class.
Hold on. I don't know, man. Where he's at, he might appreciate the humidity. Leave it kind of damp down there for him.
I hate you. I just hate you. Anywho, so we got, we got Tim coming up. There's a few spots left 10 days from now in CCW Essentials up at Pine Grove, so please come on up for that. We're hosting the combat pistol match at Tupahawken. It's our version of a mix between IDPA and USPSA. It's basically IDPA without the Dungeon Master, LOL, Dungeons and Dragons.
I like that.
Yeah, no, dude, come shoot a match. It'd be great. Yeah. But we're having some good success with that over at Tupahawken Rifle and Pistols. So, the Fuhrer has allowed us peasants to go back out into the fields and do our toil. So now we must. So come on out, come shoot matches. GreenMountainDefense.com/training. If you think that for some reason a teddy bear looking dude with a gun might be able to help you figure some things out, Lord knows I'll try. And if you learn nothing else, I promise a litany of dad jokes and other poorly timed humor. Dude, subscribe to the podcast, right? Like we're not doing this for our health, and we're not doing it to get rich either. But this is great information. We've had the ability to put out some really killer info on this show. And if there's somebody in your life that you think could use it, please give them a share. Please give us a sub. Tell us what you think of this episode. Get out there and, if you hated it, tell us why. If you loved it, tell us why. We're looking for feedback at all times. And diversify. We talked this weekend with the Tim and Frank and those dudes brought up a group of their AIs and some of their newer instructors, and we talked a lot about diversifying this weekend. This is not the only good source of gun information on the internet, clearly, right? There's a lot of good guys out there and good gals out there with quality content. So please, when you see quality content, recognize it and, give them the old thumbs up and do what you can to help them. Buy our t-shirts. We'll go until the next show. If you buy a t-shirt, we'll donate the profits.
Now screw that, man. It's our birth month till the end of June.
The end of June. I love it. Buy a t-shirt awesome, between now and the end of June. We'll give it to Racheal's Rest. So that's pretty cool. TJ is toiling away in his basement making custom knives for all of your pleasure. So if you want him to quit his day job, please buy a knife. He's not going to quit his day job because he likes to be able to afford the fancy knife machines and grinders and so forth. But we got a bunch of you dudes that are out there just really loving his knives. So TJ's Custom Knives of Tennessee will be a company soon enough. I'm going to drag him kicking and screaming into making it into a real business, whether he wants it or not. But dude, check this thing out. These products are incredible. Look at these knives. Right? I have no idea what to do with it. I'm just going to butter my bagel or whatever, but still, it's cool, right? It's fine. So buy one of TJ's knives. And you can find TJ, the Lead Sling'N Ginger, on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We've got a Facebook thing for the podcast. You can find me at Green Mountain Defense, everywhere fine sarcasm is served. And we kind of feel like we might just be cheating on our favorite charity just a little bit, but I promise we'll be okay. Dude, Hold My Guns. Please, for the love of God, get out there and support Hold My Guns. Sarah and Genevieve are doing some really good work trying to help some folks have access to secure firearm storage when lethal means in the home may not be the greatest of ideas. I'm proud to be on the board and proud to be doing everything I can to help. So holdmyguns.org if you want to go donate there as well. What else you got, man? TJ, you got anything?
Yeah, got a few things. Got to pay the bills and whatnot. So real quick, Brian, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know Kent's already said it, but I'm going to say it again. You are welcome back here anytime. So please continue to keep in touch with us, and whatever you just keep your availability open for us, man. We'll save you a seat right here with us. Happy to have you, and truly enjoyed your participation tonight.
I appreciate what you guys are doing too. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. We're happy to do it. So for those of you at home, of course, Kent and I are proud members of the Right On Optics Pro staff. Head on over to rightonoptics.com and check out everything that they have to offer. Red dots, variable power optics, low variable power optics, binoculars, the whole gamut, rings, bases, mounts. It is a veritable cornucopia of optics and long distance sighting tools. So go on over and check those out. Also, head on over to darkangelmedical.com. Carrie Davis is a good friend of the podcast. Please use code BB15. That's Bravo 15 at checkout. We don't get any kickbacks for it, but it's a 15% off discount to you. And just let him know in the comment section that the Sling'N Lead podcast sent you, just so he knows that we're showing him some love all the time. I think that's about it. Did I forget anybody else this time? I know we took a week off.
Our next coupon code is going to be cornucopia or Proxemics. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah. Stay tuned. For those of you that are new to the podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. If you are missing us on YouTube, maybe you don't like YouTube and you prefer to consume your podcasts elsewhere, we are also available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, all that other good stuff. You name it, we're probably there. We're in so many podcast players, I've lost track. But you can always find us there. Just search Sling'N Lead Podcast and you'll be able to find us. Oh, stay tuned because next week, Kent, are we doing the AAR for the AVD course? Right.
Heck
so
yeah.
we have got the whole crew
from
Apache Solutions joining us next week to talk about their experiences with Phil Groff and the Armed Vehicle Defense course that they just attended with Kent. Kent's been through it before, but if we had him do it again, it would just be cheating. So we'd like to get a first perspective.
Yeah.
But I think that about covers it. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. Give me another week or two, folks. I'll get back in the swing of this, and I won't sound like a complete amateur. But until we see each other again, God bless you all. Take care of each other, and get out and shoot.